Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I am drawing a pinup with traditional pencil. I'm doing this on a blank cover comic book, which I do these quite often. I have a huge drawer full of them and I really like doing them. It gives me kind of something to draw when I'm not really quite sure what I want to draw, so I just look through my drawer, check out a character I might want to draw. In this case I'm drawing a Kiss Vampirella cover. The drawing surface on this is great. I just did a Deja Thoris cover. I showed that in my last sketchbook update video, and I had a lot of fun doing it, so I decided to do traditional pencil for a little while. So that's what you're seeing me do right here. And so the next sketchbook video will be all traditional pencil illustrations. So the pencil I'm using right here is just a mechanical pencil I've had forever. It's lightweight, cheap. And I like the fact that it's lightweight. I use 6H lead in this, which is very hard, light lead. I like to do my underdrawing with this, and you can also get really smooth, light transitions. I feel like that's something that really takes pencil drawing to another level, is when you mix some of the lead densities in a drawing. You get these real, like, just the surface texture that you get from different leads kind of adds interest to the drawing, I think. Like this 6H is very, very hard and very smooth, and you're just not gonna get too dark with it. So it's great for, like I said, doing the underdrawing and then just smoothing out surfaces and stuff. So right here, you're seeing me use a Rotring mechanical pencil. This is a heavier pencil, and this has just got standard HB lead in it. And so you can see it's, you don't have to push as hard, it's darker, but you can see it's a bit more textured. And one of the things I like that texture in certain areas, but I'll smooth that out with a little paper blender later. But this section right here, where you're just kind of laying down patches of light, and it's a layering process that takes a long time. This section of the drawing where I just drew her, I think took me at least an hour and a half of just going over and over these very gradual transitions that are on her body and the light changing and stuff like that. And that is what really gives you that realistic light. So my awesome wife decided to help me out with this one because I really wanted to get very realistic light sources. That's one thing that it's really hard to fake when drawing from imagination. If you watch my next sketchbook video, like I said, it's all pencil drawings, and I do one that's really similar to this one from imagination. And I do feel like it's great, it looks good. But when I really want to get a drawing to that next level where the light, like you see in an armpit and stuff, is just, there's all these reflected light, bouncing light, all that stuff. That's really hard to make up from your imagination and have it look very realistic. So I wanted to kind of get some pieces of, just like how the light might bounce off the skin in certain areas and stuff like that. So she helped me out quite a bit on that. But as far as like I took a few different photos, and then if you saw the photos, I'm not going to show you the photos, but I actually changed the drawing quite a bit from what those look like, just arm placement and things like that. And has to do with spatial awareness of the comic book cover itself. Like in one, her arm is fully extended in one of them, and I wanted it to fill the page better, so I bent her arm. Same with kind of how she's holding the guitar there. Her leg placement was different. But that's one thing about creating art yourself. I feel like this is something I talk about in a lot of people have seen my how to draw realistic drawings from photos. And so when you create art, when you work just from a photograph that you find on the internet or of a celebrity or something like that, and you don't actually set up the composition or the pose or anything like that, I mean, that's a huge part of what makes it your art. So for me, whenever I do a cover or artwork like this, where I do use reference, I do my best to make sure that it's all mine. So how her pose is, everything like that, this is all my artwork. I didn't take it from another photographer. I didn't do anything like that. I just used reference for light and to kind of figure out a good composition. And like I said, it's really important, I feel like, to understand, you know, when you see these drawings or illustrations of just drawings that somebody took off the internet and then they just trace it, you know, there's a photographer somewhere that did all the work in that composition, and the artist is getting credit for it, because composition is a huge part of, you know, creating art. So it's kind of, you know, unless you give that photographer credit for doing that, I think it's a little bit cheap sometimes. I know there's lots of cool techniques, tracing techniques and stuff like that. I have no problem with those, like I've said in other videos. But I do feel like the whole drawing should be your creation, because I know there's famous comic book artists that work from, that use tracing techniques. This video is not traced. I should say that now. This is all just drawing from looking at stuff, things like that, as far as, but like I said, it's all photographs that I took. And then obviously the skulls, everything like that, those are all just hand drawn from my imagination. So, and getting into that a little bit, the whole concept of this is, when I started this cover, I didn't want to have to draw the entire band. I wanted one focal point. This isn't a big area to draw on. So this was my way of kind of incorporating the band. I show the guitar with her and stuff like that, but she's totally the focal point. And then the band members as these skulls on pikes and stuff like that. I thought would be a really cool way to bounce you around the page, and create movement. So the skulls that are on the pikes, you can't really see the finished ones here, but they move you from left to right, kind of around her in a little bit of a circle motion. So, and she kind of forms a wheel, like a spindle in the center that everything kind of rotates around. So that's what I mean by the thought that goes into a good composition. And when you just trace a photograph that you find online, you don't have to think about any of that stuff. So you're skipping a huge part of the creative process, I think. So that's just how I feel about the subject, and why when I appreciate artwork that I see, knowing like the artist, that you can trust the artist to do original, really creative work, and you can really appreciate all the effort that they put into it. So other than the composition, the pose and the anatomy of the figure is also extremely key in making sure you have a good drawing. I always try and go for very natural, curvy figures. That's what I find beautiful, and it's one of the most important things when I consider if I nailed a pose. So this pencil that I'm using right here, that was the 6B pencil, and I'll use a 8B or a 9B sometimes occasionally as well. They're dark, real dark. You can get real dark just by even lightly touching it up. And so those three pencils, the 6H, the HB, and the 6B, give me a really good range of just values. And I feel like those three, you know, I can work fast enough with that and still have a nice value range in there. And I was pretty happy with this cover. I actually still might work on this one a little bit. I wanted to get the video up, and I got it to a point where I liked it, but I think there's some detail stuff, because I really actually like this cover a lot. I'll be selling this one along with the Deja Thoris one you guys saw in the last one, probably at my local comics store, Geeky Nerd. And I do those. I don't know if I've told you this, but I sell these covers. Chris, who owns Geeky Nerd, does live sales on Facebook, and he has been through the quarantine. But basically, he does auctions for my covers, and it's crazy that people want them that bad, but they sell pretty good through there. So these are a great way to kind of just make some extra money as well. And like I said, I really have a lot of fun doing these covers. So right here, I'm using a piece of paper to make sure my hand doesn't smudge the rest of the drawing, which I don't know if it's this paper, but I didn't really have a big problem with that on this one. I try not to do that in the videos, only because I try and keep the drawing so that you guys can see me working on it. But Anyway, that's the video, guys. I hope you liked it. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't done just regular pencil work like this in forever, and I'm having fun with it. You know, I should say, like, for me, it's been super hard to nail down a style, just because it is so hard for me to stick with anything. I mean, if you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you've seen me do digital art, you've seen me do traditional pencil, you've seen me do Bic pens, markers, pen and ink, brush pen. I like doing all kinds of stuff. I like keeping art interesting, and I hope it's, you know, fun for you guys to watch. It's fun for me to make, so I'll continue to make videos like this. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed and you like this video, please subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.